Hi, I'm Pam Hayes from Hayes Sewing Machine Company of Wilmington, Delaware. Welcome back to our creative videos. And today we're going to do a by Annie pattern, and it's called iCases. Comes in two different sizes. I've already kind of done the large one to get you the idea. It has Velcro on the front, and this one here, again, it has a nice zip in the back. So this guy, we're good to go. I did it by, you could use it, you can quilt it, or you can leave it plain. This one I did quilt, so I did free motion quilting beforehand. The only thing I'll tell you, and she does actually mention it to you in the pattern, if you are going to to quilt the soft and stable, make sure that you actually do pay attention to the instructions and cut the piece of fabric considerably larger than what you need. Like I would do 2 inches. Okay? Because if you don't, you have something that will be close in size, but not quite. And I have my note, make into a pouch.
Okay.
And you never throw it away. You know, you can always do something with it. But
it eases up a lot more on soft and stable.
It sucks in a lot because you think, oh, it shouldn't really. It does. Okay.
Not quite the same as batting.
Not quite the same as batting. So, all of the instructions again are going to be in how big you need to cut it. But basically, we're going to have the soft and stable sandwiched in between your main fabric as well as your contrast, the lining. And when you're working with it, to do that, you actually take your top material. Yeah, I still like this at home too. Yeah, just have all this stuff there. All right.
The camera's not quite catching it.
Oh, there you go. I feel better now. There you go. And we're going to line it up. So this is going to be the back of case and front flap. Okay. You'll notice that the fabric doesn't quite go to the edge of your soft and stable deliberately. Okay, that way if it shrinks a little bit, you're still good. Okay. What she recommends is that you kind of iron them. It'll kind of help keep them together a little bit. So we are going to stitch 1/8 of an inch all the way around. So just 1/8 of an inch into, and don't you think the hamsters are
I was going to say something. I don't know if the camera picks up the hamsters, but it's a tulip pink, isn't it?
It's a tulip pink, yes. I love the hamsters. It's funny, I was drawn to the color, and then I'm like, it has hamsters on it. I love it. All right, so again, you're going to go 1/8 of an inch all the way around. And what I did find also helpful is if you reduce the pressure on your foot.
Okay.
I found I'm working on a Bernina 590. The traditional pressure on the foot is like a 70, so I made it to like a 60. So just lighten it up.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. All right, and you're going to sew again around. You're going to be 1/8 of an inch.
And are you doing dual feed?
Yes,
and
definitely.
if somebody didn't have a dual feed, would you recommend walking foot?
Yep, do your walking foot. And I also lengthen out the stitch a little bit. Instead of being the traditional like 2.5, I'm probably up to just short of 3. And again, we're going to stitch around. And again, we're going to do all 4 sides. All right. So, we're good to boogie. We have just stitched all the way around, okay? Now, we want to make sure when we trim it that it is the dimensions that they tell you. And I'm doing the smaller one this time. So basically it is the size of the top fabric. All right, so you're going to get your rotary.
Clear your mat.
Yes, that's true. I wish I could get upset because that wasn't, no, that's true. All right, and we're going to cut all the way around. And again, they'll give you the dimensions that you need. And it's amazing just by stitching it around actually how firm it gets. And when your electronic devices and things like that, it'd be kind of nice to, and there you go. So really is nice and
Very
firm.
nice.
All right, you're going to take your lining and you're going to put that to the back. So remember, pretty, your main fabric, stitched on a bigger piece. You trim it up, you put this on the back, and we're going to get it lined up. So your, in my case, hamster fabric and my lining should be exactly the same size.
Okay.
If it's not, check your measurements. And we're going to stitch again around 1/8 of an inch. And I'm just using my clips to attach. Okay? And we're going to line this up. And again, when we line this up, if you miss a little bit of the lining, you know, if it had shifted on you, it'll be fine. The seam allowances on here are 1/4 of an inch. So you'll catch it when you actually put the bag together. All right, so you have everything put together.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now you're going to mark for a placement at this point. So you're going to mark it on the right side, and I'm just going to make sure that it wants to be on the front of the case. What we're doing here is the front of the case.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to line up front of case, and do yourself a favor, leave them labeled. I won't tell you why. On the main side of the front of the case. All right, and you're going to basically come up 3 inches. So we come up. I'm using a, what am I using? The friction pen.
What am I working
When
with?
am I working with? This is the red one. All right, so I have done a line coming straight up. On the lining for our back and front, you're going to come 1/2 inch down for the Velcro, and on the front you need to mark, and in this case because I'm doing the small, like 2 1/4 down. What we're marking is this. We're marking where we want this placement and where we want the decorative piece
border to go.
Yep. All right. Once you've done those, you're going to just place those aside. Now, we're going to be working on, this is the back pocket, okay? And when we're working with this is the back pocket, okay? That's why you always label them. We're going to put the zip in. Now, she had you put the zipper, a kind of a bigger, more substantial zipper. I did not have one, so I was just using a traditional dress zipper. Works just fine as long as you trim the seam allowance a little bit, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So you're going to get your zip, and first thing, always the rule, check to make sure it works. Because I have put in a zipper that has not worked before, and boy, don't you feel like a genius when you do that. We're going to change to a zipper foot. And we're going to make sure we move our needle position over to the side. Most zipper feet are like that, in fact, that you need to change. And you're going to put right side down. Make sure that the zipper is extending on either side.
Okay, I'll come around so they can get a highlighted view here.
So again, when we right side down, okay, so zipper, we tested it to make sure it fits. We put right side down, and you're going to sew it about 1/4 inch. All right, and we're going to sew all the way down. You can pin this or honestly just hold it. Now, because I'm working with a traditional dress zipper and not like a bag zipper, what they're telling you is when this piece flips and we're going to top stitch it, I'm going to trim some of this out because the physical tape
is a little narrower.
Yep, is a little narrower. So we're going to take and we're going to trim some of that up. Now you could also maybe not do as much of a seam allowance. That would also help.
Could you extend the zipper out a little bit? Like have it hang off the edge a little bit so that
oh, this way, yeah. The edge of the long, sure. I think all of those things would be applicable.
I just read a thing on putting zippers in bags. It was actually in reference to putting a zipper in a serger bag, but I thought it was a clever idea. The person who was doing it, she took a thin strip of Steam-A-Seam 2 and she ironed it to the zipper tape. And then she ironed it in the placement that she wanted to the bag. And so it literally glued the zipper to the bag, and then she went ahead and did our stitching like normal.
Ah, nice.
But I thought, hey, that's got potential.
Yep. All right, so now we're going to take and we're going to flip it down and we're going to stitch on the other side. So this one, again, I don't really try to pin it too much. I just make sure that as much as I can is trimmed off. And if you see that, oh, I don't like that.
Trim it before you stitch it.
Trim it before you stitch it. It's always the best thing. And we're just going to lay this down. And that way it just really makes that top edge pretty.
Mm-hmm. It does. It looks clean.
Yep. All right. So, ta-da! See how that looks
Gorgeous.
pretty?
Yeah, the top stitch looks great.
Okay. Now, this edge is this piece.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really, you could just stitch it down,
Mm-hmm.
but that would be just stitching it down. Yeah, let's make it pretty.
Let's look at pretty.
Now, she'll give you the dimensions. You're going to fold it. Now, something to be aware of. She's not, if you are a quilter, if you're coming from a quilting background, she will not encourage you. She doesn't like you to press ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we kind of do that as quilters.
Yeah.
So just try to not do it.
Take a deep breath, right?
Take a deep breath. And we're going to stitch basically down on the other side. Doing the same things we just did. But again, try not to press it. I know it just about makes you twitch.
From doing other Annie's bags, her reasoning on that, particularly if you're doing the bias tape part of it, like you're going around the edge, is that you're less likely to get a crease or a wrinkle if you press it after you stitched it on.
Yep. And then,
Flip it around. Oh, pretty.
and top stitch.
I like it.
Okay. So again, it's going to make it nice. So we're just going to flip it around and do our pretty top stitch. And that's just a nice way of finishing off a zip, you know, if you have, not necessarily just on Annie's bag, but all right, so that's what we're going to do, and we're going to stitch right from the top, and I'm going to move my easiest thing, move my needle over to the other side. All right, now this happened to me before, that I didn't get it all the way caught. Now, 2 rules that you can think of. You can always take that previous row that you've just done out, or I just stitched it twice.
Decorative top stitching.
Decorative top stitch.
Yeah, why pull it out?
And much better. All right,
Beautiful.
so there you go. That is, again, one of the other components. So this particular one here, again, we're all good. We're going to take, and the front of the bag, we're going to attach the Velcro at this point. So, and I always love it. Center and attach the hook, and she says, in quotes, scratchy. So because a lot of times we're like, hook? What? So basically you're going to attach
The scratchy
the
side.
scratchy side. I just thought that was cute. I'm like, I understand that. That makes sense to me. All right. So we're going to measure, and we're just going to try to center it. So I'm going to do rough here. So slide it down a little bit. And it should be about 2 inches on either side.
Okay.
Now, the bottom of said Velcro is on that line
That we drew.
All right.
We being you.
We being it, yes. And it's one of those things where she says, if you hold it, glue it, whatever you want to do.
Uh-huh.
And she was also saying that she will tend to do, stitch it around twice.
Because it's getting a lot of tugging and pulling?
Yes, it's getting
Okay.
a lot of tugging and pulling. So to me, that made total sense. And we're going to take...
Oh, it saves having to mend it later, right?
Yep, you got it. So again, we're going to stitch. So we're going to stitch all the way around. And we're going to do it twice. So again, if you didn't catch it the first time, don't worry too much about it. And if you're worried about your stitching, this is where you could change your top thread to white, which is, if you saw how I did it with mine.
Did you change it to
I
white?
changed it. Why not? But I didn't worry too much about it. I'm going for so you guys can see it. Okay, so we're all set with this section. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I just left this so it'll be fine on the back. Now, at this point, we're going to go and we are going to adjust the shape. If you take a look, there's a little shaping.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of adds a little something, something to it. All right. And, yeah, you can see it here in the picture.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Okay, just sit down. Now, she gives you basically a mark. So on the pattern piece, she gives you.
Give you
Yep,
template.
template for it. So basically, you line it up, and it's a gentle curve. You know, if you have a real dip-de-doodle, I think you're going to have things fall out.
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay? So she shows you how to line it up. And we're going to go. And again, it'll give you all the directions on how much to come in and where to line it up. But basically, I line my piece kind of at the bottom, and you can see it's just coming down a little bit. So it's no big deal. And I am being brave. I'm doing it with my rotary cutter. It is just a gentle curve. It shouldn't be a big catastrophe. But if you're a little nervous, pair of scissors.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now at this point, we're going to go back to our regular foot. And okay. Now we're going to take some bias and we're going to prepare that. Now, she'll give you the directions on how to do bias, but basically, when you're doing your bias, you're going to have strips. I think she does them like 2 1/4 wide. And then you're going to sew them, and then you're going to press them open. Again, that's the only pressing she wants you to do, because when you're actually taking it and doing this section, okay, we're going to do it here. Now, the only thing you want to remember is you're going to do it from the back first.
Okay.
Okay, so she recommends sewing it from the back. That way you can top stitch it on the front. And we're going to line this up. So I'm sewing from the lining part. And if you have a killer death grip, if you're that type of sewer, you want to just try to think of light and airy thoughts.
Fluffy clouds.
Fluffy clouds.
Soft kittens.
Yes. So things that are going to be a little bit more relaxed for you. You don't want to have it where, you know, you're pulling the daylights out of it. And that's also one of the reasons why she doesn't recommend you ironing it first, because you can take it and really stretch it out of shape. Could you put some clips in here? Sure. All right. And now, this is where I'm going to use my clips. Take, and we're going to stitch it on the front. Alrighty. Try to line up the straight stitch and the fold together. So you see when I'm pulling it, you want to line those up. You don't really need to pull it like super, super hard. So you're just going to try to line those up together. Now, this is also where she recommends using a stylist. So she has a stylist, and I tell you, this is a lifesaver. Especially if you find that, you know, your hands aren't quite as reacting as they should. Look at that. It holds it for you. Gotta love that.
Not only that, but you don't run over your fingers that way.
And you don't run over your fingers. Well, that's just secondary, right?
There will be no blood on my project.
All right. So, but again, the stylist really will help you get. Now, the only thing that you want to make sure you do, if you get it by Annie's, it has a protective cover that goes over the top. So when you reach into your drawer, you're not, ouch. So again, use a stylist or something, because that will make your life a lot simpler. All right, and that is the front done.
Oh, pretty.
Okay, now, whether you do it now or later,
Clip off the ears.
clip off the ears. Yes.
It kind of looks like Shrek things.
I know, right? But there you
Beautiful.
go. All right, so now at this point, we are going to go. And we have done so. On the back portion, where we put our line, we are going to put our Velcro. Again, this time though, below the line.
Below the line.
Because
okay.
obviously-
First one was above, second was,
And,
yeah, obvious.
you know, it won't work. So at this point, remember I said about 2 inches, right, for the other? So we're going to do about 2 inches. That looks good. Yep. So we're going to go and we're going to stitch around. So again, you can change your top thread if you want it to match your Velcro. This one I'm not going to worry about it. All right. So now we have it
Beautiful.
on. All right. Now we are going to take and we're going to put the zipper. See how it's all the components are starting to come together.
Quick question for you. Do you need to get that border on there first?
No.
Okay.
They have you do this first and then the other, but I think honestly it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Okay.
And what we're talking about is this, the front decorative border,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because it's,
Gotcha.
you know, I don't think it matters one way or the other. All right. The only thing that is kind of, she was specific in the pattern. She wants you to start on this side, the left side, stitch around so it's one continuous. And she also wants to make sure that when you get to this side, what are you going to do? You're going to
Get the zipper slide.
yes, you want to unzip your zipper. It should scream at you like, hey, I just put a lovely decorative patch on here. So, again, we're going to line this up. We're going to stitch starting on the what was the left side. Stitch down.
That's actually very clever.
It is.
Because if you start on that side, then
it's all continuous.
yeah, and the zipper is closed, so it's not flapping around there.
Yep. All right.
That's very clever.
All right. So
You know, she's pretty good. She should make a business of this.
it's like she's tried it.
Yes.
Right? All right. So we stitched across. We're going to come down. Now we're going over the zip. Just slow down, but don't think too much about it. You know, sometimes you think, oh, I'm going over the zip. The only way that can really mess you up is if you do, for some silly reason, a metal zipper. So obviously don't do that. And we're doing the stitching on at 1/8 of an inch because remember we're still going to have our binding on here. So again, we're stitching through. All right, so now at this point, as we're coming up the other side, what are you going to do?
Open me.
Open the zipper. Yes, open the zipper. If you don't, get your seam ripper out.
Yeah, you're okay until you cut it off, right?
Yep. Yep. All right, so again, we're going to just go across it. Don't think too much about it. I guarantee zippers smell fear. Now, you can either cut it off now, these guys now, or she has you do it later. So it really doesn't matter. Now at this point, to get rid of this ugly, okay, obviously we need the Velcro there. So she has you iron on some SF 101, which is one of my favorite interfacings. You're going to go here, and then it's going to flip up and hide all the kind of nasty. So again, we're going to do this. She also has it where it extends a little bit on the edges, so nothing's worse than you being a little short. All right. So what are we going to do?
Pretty.
Yay. Isn't that pretty?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I give a little bit of a press. And you want to trim it up. Okay? So she's going to have you trim. All the way along. And then you're going to anchor it down like we have been doing, 1/8 of an inch. Okay. So again, we're just going to stitch it down. And she has you basically stitch it just so Mr. Murphy doesn't come and visit you.
Mm-hmm. We're tight. Murphy
yeah.
and I.
Yeah, we're tight, right? There you go. You know, it would flip up. You're trying to do the...
Or just a corner.
Just the corner, you know, it would just be one of those. All right. So there we go. So we have our back pocket, and you still want to keep this in the center, because remember we're doing the binding. You don't want to have it over to the side. And then at this point, this is going to go in the front. And then look.
Ah, so cute, so cute.
So cute. And I'm thinking this one might be kind of nice for some of my short double points.
Oh, your knitting needles.
My knitting needles. Loretta's looking at me like, what are you talking about?
I'm like still on tablets and gave them like
yeah.
double point?
Double points? Yep. All right. So now we need to stitch this on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So we need to stitch this on because think about it, when we're doing the binding, and you should have all of your other pieces attached.
See, I was thinking that, you know, this would be perfect for my paperwhite Kindle.
Ah, who are you? I don't know who you are. Who?
Hint, hint.
Hint, hint. All right, so we're just going to top stitch this. So again, we just want to top stitch the components together. Now, what's also going to, she has you make it circular or curve the corners.
Mm-hmm.
And could you grab me an Aurifil? You know, serger, quilting thread.
Quilting thread?
Yep, absolutely. All right, so we're going to keep going all the way around. All right. Now, what's going to happen is she will give you all of the kind of dimensions. And it says round the edge. And then she gets for the flap, okay, 2.5 circular object.
Mm-hmm.
This is 2.5.
Which is perfect.
And basically what...
Ask you how you know.
Ask me how I know. I went through the store measuring the stuff. Oh, well, there you go. See what I'm doing here? I'm taking it and I'm putting it down.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm making a mark.
There you go.
Okay? Same thing. So this is the flap. She has you do more of, or is it less? I don't know. See, that's where my geometry teacher, I should, if she's still around, I should call and apologize to her. All right, and you're going to do basically the same type of thing, but she has you do it with a 1.5. Now, I wasn't successful at finding it at 1.5, so I'm like, yeah, that works. All right, so you're going to round the corners. And you can just round the corners, to be perfectly honest with you. Better pair of scissors. Thank you. Yeah, when you start working with, and see when I'm just curving it. Now, why you're doing this is because it makes it so much easier to bind. Okay, when you put the
No
binding
miter
on.
corners.
Yes, no mitered corners. And you're going to do the same thing there. And same thing there. All right, everybody follow me with me on that?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, at this point, the instructions that she had next, I must admit, I was like, huh? You go, she was doing a lot of left and right and right and left, and where do you start? And I'm thinking, I don't know. All right, I did this as I do a quilt binding. So I took my piece, I folded it down at a 45-degree angle, and then I go like there to start.
Mm-hmm.
And basically she wants you to do that up into the flap area.
Because there's less bulk.
Yes, there's less bulk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you can do it here, but look how many layers you got.
Yeah.
So you really don't want to start doing that. So you want to be in this section.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, it's legal to cut everything off. Because think about it, you don't want to have to include that in your binding. So, fold it, 45-degree, flip it over, and then you're going to start stitching. 1/4 inch. So all the way down, and we're going to go around the edge. Now when you go around the edge, it's real important, don't panic and don't pull the daylights out of it. Alright, you're just going to go around. Don't worry too much if it has a little bit of a bend, you know, a little tuck to it. You're really not stitching there, but you need a little bit of that. Oh, and also, you can get rid of the dog ears. And by the way, she told you to get rid of the dog ears like a while back in the,
in the directions.
in the directions. All right, so again, we're just going to go use your stylist, and you're just going to try to continue. But you really don't want to have, all right, we're on the straightaway. You really don't want to have it stretch too much.
So you're looking for some fullness around the corner.
Yep. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop there for a minute. So see how it rises up?
Mm-hmm.
It's not being
Pulling the
pulled
corner, yeah.
so tight, and that will happen if you yank on the binding.
Mm-hmm.
So you want it as smooth as possible, because that way, when you go, it'll do a nice job.
Yeah.
Okay? And then you're going to, when you flip it and you curve it around, it'll do a nice job for you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and we'll be right back. All right, we have finished stitching around, and isn't that the cutest thing? Now, because I did a traditional zipper, okay, and not a quote-unquote bag zipper, they have you do like a zipper pull, they have you do fabric, fold it and sew it. It's too big, that piece of material, so what I did is I did a charm instead.
Cute.
So I just did
I
a
like
flower.
that better anyway.
Yeah, I did the flower charm, and I had flower charms.
Oh, one that matched.
I know, right? There you go. All right, so we will see you next time.